Hello and welcome again to our Rhino overhauling. Now, of course, we've already got the engine and the transmission, and we got the bodywork all, well, for the most part, done. This is the fun part. This is where we get to start modifying our Rhino. See that little guy's head? I think I have to readjust his head. This is when we start to add all the little bits, all the little pieces back in to our Rhino. This is actually a mold that I made off of an old Vindicator model. Notice I left my other little pieces out, and this is to make sure that I have little bits later on. So when you're putting together one of these RT Rhinos, one of the most important aspect of it, now if this surface is a little bit flatter, you can see it's not, if it wobbles, you've done it wrong. Okay, so I got an example here. Here's one of the chassis. Of course, it's not cleaned up, so it's, I'm just showing you how it should be put together here. So you got this little raised ring here. You just need a little bit of glue. As you can see, this is an older one, so you can see some of the glue that's already on there. You just need to put just a little bit around the edge of that ring. That ring just fits into this slot right here. Once you got that in there, if you're using super glue, you have to work really quick sometimes. On the bottom of the Rhino, however you got it positioned here, make sure that you are flush. The track has to be flush with the rest of the hole here. Okay, make sure it's straight across. If it's not straight across up here at front, it's going to be wobbly when you get it done. That's probably one of the main points out of this section that I want you to get to understand here, is to make sure this is just flat across, or it's just going to be wobbly. Once you've got that figured out, you start putting all your pieces in there however you want to. Now, I put little wolf heads on here. Well, space wolves, okay. The problem is that these exhausts, like the railings they used to have, and I'll show you a railing here shortly, these exhausts have a potential of just breaking off. They just break off. Don't worry about my storm bolter. They have a problem of breaking off. So I have some that are broken off, so I had little bits from a Space Wolf backpack. I put those on there. Now I'm going to show you a couple little bits here to think about. A lot of little bits like these here. These are off of Vindicators. These are handy to have. Make molds of this stuff. This is where you just grab your bits box and you just go wild. This is mostly all my RT old Road Trader. I don't know why that's in there. All my old Road Trader stuff. Here's one of the railings. Still on sprue. Eventually one of these days I'll get around to molding it. But these have a tendency to get broken really easy on them. That's why I leave them off of all of my Rhinos anymore. You got your dozer blade pieces. Those are really good for it. Your little missile launcher, one shot, one kill missile launcher. And all sorts of other things, little dudes. Now, my little guy on here is actually from one of the newer models. I just made the hole bigger to where he sits in so I can push him up through there. Works out quite well. Works out quite well for me. Another thing, speaking of molds, I was going to show you some of the molds. Now, there's a couple different products that you can use to make your molds. All right. What I use is this Alumalite. Okay, this is currently the strength 3. It's a little bit stronger. That's this one here. I'm not 100% happy with it for the fact that the mold's not as flexible. Now, of course, I've trimmed this down. This was actually 1 ounce. What it says to use for your mixture, and since it was too big, I just cut it off. That's going to be gone away. These are really good. When I learned to start doing these, I always start out doing one-piece molds. They're easier to do. This was from the kit that the Illuminite originally comes in. As you can see, these parts here are for a chimera, so it doesn't really matter what part you use them for. What you got to watch out for is these bubbles that pop up. I made these a little bit too thin. I don't know if you can see it very well. As you can see, there's some light coming through there. You can see where there's parts in there where I've just made the mold too thin. Eventually I'll just have to redo the mold. It's no big deal. It wasn't a lot. Relatively cost effective. I believe the mold set's right around $50-ish from a company called Hobby Lobby if you're here in the States. You can also buy a lot of your mold material online, like at eBay and other sellers like that. Now, something that's going to cost you a little bit less, you're just going to do one-piece molds. These are a little bit dirty, but this is Sculpey clay. You have to be a little bit more, you have to play with it a little bit. If it's fresh, you just got out of the box, you're going to want to let it sit for several hours for it to get some of the grease. Let it kind of air dry a little bit before you start making your molds for it. Try to make them as flat as you possibly can. Of course, these are going to have to be sanded down a little bit. They come out pretty good for pieces that don't have, say, a lot of detail on them. Something that has a lot of detail, this was supposed to be a Space Wolf emblem that goes on the Storm Wolves. And I'll show you how that one came out. It didn't come out very well at all. I mean, you can kind of sort of see it, but if you get up close to it, the detail's very bad. So this is just gonna. Luckily, it's Sculpey. It's like $8 for a brick, so it's really cheap to use. It's a cheaper alternative than using the Illuminite rubber molds, RTV rubber molds. It's a good alternative. Now here is one of the side doors that I made here. It's a little off, just a little bit. This one down here is a little bit crooked. It can be fixed. I mean, it's Sculpey. I can make another one. It's not a big deal. And this is just with resin on this one here. Same comes with Illuminite. It's still the Illuminite resin for it. It was the Quick Set. Use Quick Set for one-piece molds. It works out better in your favor. Another thing you can use, say you don't want to spend that much money. Well, a lot of us still have a lot of that green stuff, the tube stuff, still laying around. This is one of the doors. It's not that bad. It really isn't. Came out pretty good. And all I did was just push the green stuff right into the mold. Of course, I cleaned up the back of it, of this one here, after it dried. Gotta be kind of careful about popping it out. May want to use some sort of little bit of oil, but very thin. Just apply it with your brush. You can use cooking oil. It's fine. Just make sure that when you do this, when you do your molds, when you bake these molds, do not bake the plastic bits, the plastic parts in your molds, because they will melt. Okay? So be careful about taking them back out. Sometimes, like I said, they'll be a little off, but they'll work fine. Here's another one here. I did have a top hatch. As you can see, not 100% perfect on that one. It's not very perfect as far as roundness goes. But I got a pretty decent mold made out of it. Pretty decent mold. Just some ideas to help save costs. You can use Sculpey and green stuff and make your own one-sided molds is all you really need for a lot of these older Rhinos. I love the older Rhinos because they're cheap. I can buy a chassis roughly for about 20 bucks. Sculpey, that's maybe, you know, one of the small bricks of Sculpey, really. So that's about $5 for one of the smaller bricks for that. So we're still way under the price of a new model from Games Workshop. Trying to keep away from the higher prices. Plus, like I said, 20 bucks you can buy several of these chassis on eBay, strip them down with a simple green. A jug of simple greens, like I think it's $10 for the jug. Still, we're under the price cost. $4 for the green stuff to smooth everything out. Still, you know, kind of, we're getting up there now, but we're still keeping it under cost because we're building a lot of these pieces out of just scrap pieces that we have laying around. So in the next episode, what we're going to do is I'm going to go through, we're going to prime this. I'll show you some do's and don'ts in the priming after I have the model primed, of course, and how to do it. Some people like to have it disassembled before they prime. That's fine. Once again, just remember to make sure that these tracks, when you adhere the tracks, make sure they're even on the tracks. If you look inside, I don't know if we can get a good picture of it, but when I took the front little door pieces off here, I marked them left and right, so I knew where they went back on the model, which is also a good thing you want to get in practice of. Also, dry fitting all your pieces to make sure they work properly in the places that they're going to work. Once again, this is Chuck. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe down below. And don't forget, these old White Dwarf issues, you can still pick them up on eBay for about $3-4 a piece. They have a lot of information in these old ones because they have the modeling workshop in a lot of these older magazines. They're great. Sure, you still have some ads in there, but other than that, they're awesome. Anyway, take it easy. Once again, like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Thank you. Bye.